So resilience is a term, well, it's used in a lot of different ways. It's really like intended to describe the ways that we develop skills and internal coping to move forward through adversity. Protective factors, we could argue, promotes resilience. But protective factors are not in and of itself resilience. They're things that people can provide you. So like resilience we think of as like being solely internal. So we think of resilience as being an individual. It's something inside of me that I can do. So I can cope, I can access skills, I can do all these things so that when I'm going through a hard time, I can come out of it resilient, meaning I made it through that. I learned some very important and valuable internal skills. Protective factors, though, are less about internal to the individual and more about these are things that we can all do to promote protective factors for children. So like adults, I mean, and some people use them interchangeably. I'm not going to like necessarily parse out like definitions, scientific definitions of resilience and protective factors, but the way that I see them differently is that protective factors can be promoted by everyone, by adults in the child's life, by decision making. And I think of it like a video game, kind of like we can do things to give kids like this bonus secret like case that you open and there's like all kinds of cool superpowers and things that help protect you even when you're running through a video game trying not to get caught by whoever's chasing you. But the point is, like, we through our decision making external to that child can promote protective factors. So making sure that a child has access to their basic needs. And so often being in the court process is a barrier to getting that child access to their basic needs. And, we as adults, as decision makers, as people working with and representing children, we can promote decision making that gets children access to their basic needs, to those concrete supports. We can also make decisions that preserve other kinds of protective factors that they already have. So, having a high quality school system and living in a safe community, if we can make decisions that help keep that child in their community, rather than making decisions that, might force families to move. It's little things like that that we can see as like, these are protective factors that are already in place. All we have to do is make decisions that preserve them. And then sometimes we can make decisions and do things with the child that build protective factors that don't currently exist. And so like resilience, it's an internal thing that happens over time with wisdom and learning and skills. But protective factors is something we can all play a role in. We can think about it as, what does the child currently have that's a protective factor? Let me just make sure that when I'm making decisions, I'm not harming those protective factors in place. It's a way to guide our adult decision making rather than coming from like, I want to prevent risk for this child, which we all do. We all want to prevent risk, but we can't always do that. So it kind of helps adults shift their thinking into, what are the things that we can preserve? Even when we can't prevent risk, if we can preserve these things, we're still setting that child up for way more success than, if we're, as a judge, for example, making a decision that leads to, a lack of concrete supports, or moving to a different community that because they couldn't afford to stay in that community. Like, we all can play a role in making decisions that prevent current existing protective factors from disappearing.